Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on device career paths for economic professionals. My name is Nongeba Fihilebebe, and I am honored to be a moderator today. I currently serve as the Secretary General of the Young Global Economists Society. YGES is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, and independent organization dedicated to organizing, training, and connecting young economic professionals worldwide. Our mission is to foster innovative economic thinking relevant to the 21st century and beyond. As an initiative of the Institute of Certified Chartered Economists, YGEC provides a platform for networking, learning, and sharing ideas, inspiring the next generation of economic leaders. Before we dive into today's discussion, here are a few housekeeping guidelines. Feel free to type your question in the chat or use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the discussion to address your queries. Please ensure that your microphone is on mute when not speaking to avoid background noise. The field of economics offers a wide range of career opportunities, from public policy and financial services to research, social entrepreneurship, and strategic planning. So this webinar will provide insights into the diverse career paths available to economics professionals, the skills and expertise needed to succeed in this field, and strategies to navigate and thrive in today's evolving job market. I am thrilled to introduce our esteemed panelists who will bring a wealth of knowledge and diverse experiences from various economic sectors. We will start with Kanisa Pia. Kanisa is a seasoned economist with over a decade of experience in the public and financial services sector. She has developed critical decision support tools for the investment community, provided insights on economic, social, and political trends affecting business and communities, and leveraged data-driven strategies for financial planning, risk management, and investment decisions. I will hand over this time to Kanisa, and yeah, you can tell us more about yourself and get into your presentation. Thank you. You're muted. Sorry, Kanisa, you're muted. Please unmute yourself.
I think after so many years of technology, we still get unmuted. Thank you so much for that elaborate introduction. And I appreciate to join your community this evening. So yes, in fact, an interesting story is that economics found me. I was done with matric, having done sciences and biology, with just a stint in commerce in accounting. And when I got to university, my first lecturer, I knew I didn't want to do sciences, so I had enrolled for accounting in case, right? But my first lecture was actually an economics class, and that's when I got my aha moment, like, oh, is this how things work? And that's when I wanted to explore even more. I've worked in government, I've worked in the private sector now in investment banking. And I think that's the best part about an economics qualification. You get so diverse, you get an opportunity to add value and be an advocate for economic growth, for development, and societal and human progress. So that is what I do in my roles. When I worked at SARS, that's how I felt. I was giving back to community. But the little analysis that I was doing, that's what I felt that my analysis, my insights, my input were adding value to the tax revenues that were collected and driving, revenue committees to make the right decisions. The same with when I joined the investment world. It was really about financial inclusion for me, and understanding how economics actually pairs with, because it's one of the best pairs with other societal, economic fields, right? So when you combine economics with, say, investments, or combine economics with microeconomics in terms of advancing inequality policies, or to address inequality policies, that's what we're here for, to promote growth and sustainability, and also make sure that those limited resources are allocated to the best of an economy, so that people can have progress and economies can grow.
Thank you so much, Kaisa. Um, Next up, we will go to Neo. You can. Oh, let me introduce Neil first. So Neil has over 7 years of experience in research, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. She began her career at a data clerk and is now a strategic information manager at the Population Services International in Lesotho. Her academic background includes a degree in economics and statistics, a postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation, specialized training in data quality, M&E, system design, and fundamentals of M&E. She is a Mandela Washington Fellowship alumna in public management and is deeply passionate about ensuring quality data for decision making. Outside of work, she enjoys mentoring young girls, supporting the less fortunate, and watching soccer. Over to you, Nell. You can unmute and introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Neo Letolagamahapu. I am from Lesotho. Um, I studied economics. I was inspired by my uncle. Unfortunately, when you study economics, you also deal with um, getting to assess youth unemployment. So during my fourth year, I think youth unemployment was around 36 because 36%. And then after completing to be part of that, unemployed youth really got a toll of you. But luckily, I had done economics with statistics. So I later started volunteering into statistical matters. I became part of the national census, and I think I started diverting more into statistics and still contributing a little into economics. And the fact that I did economics and statistics, I developed more knowledge and more experience into the research. I started doing data collection, and then I got introduced to monitoring and evaluation, which is now called strategic information. And then I started doing short courses online, Alison, learning more about monitoring and evaluation. I'm still an economics person because you know you want to see your economy improve, but I am now more into research, monitoring and evaluation because recently I've completed my postgraduate diploma into monitoring and evaluation. And maybe since I'm in a health sector, it's also helping the economy to curb some of the diseases. So, as much as you're more into research and monitoring and evaluation, but your background as a statistician still matters because you do statistical mathematics, econometrics also helps into the field. Those softwares that you did, such as SPSS, you still do them on daily basis at work. So basically, it showed that um, as much as currently, I was telling somebody that I couldn't do a public health master's because economics and statistics is broad, so you can work in different sectors. So I don't want to limit myself in the health sector, But the more I want to broaden my knowledge or expand to other departments, I should also open my options to that, because having done social science, you can fit in every aspect, and economics is part of social science, of course, and it becomes easier to divert. But I think mine was I was channeled into research because of unemployment. The public sector has a burden of um, huge amount that is levered on employment, and we now need to focus on how private sector can help boost the economy. So the option that was available to me, I took and I fell in love with. So currently I'm doing M&E and I'm loving it, but that does not say I'm no longer an economist.
Thank you so much, Neil. Um, I think Nora has joined us. Hello, Nora, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello,
Hello, how are you? May you
I'm
kindly
good.
show your video so we can put
Okay.
name? Thank you.
Oh, I think someone deactivated me. The host deactivated me, my video.
Let me try and see. I have made you a co-host. Is that not working?
Okay, it's good.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry. I couldn't, I couldn't connect myself. I didn't know why, but Nokwanda managed to make me in. So thank you, Nokwanda.
Okay.
Please, can you repeat the question for me? I didn't follow.
Okay, not a problem. We were just introducing the panelists to everyone. So I'll give a short bio about you, then you can also introduce yourself.
Okay.
So everyone, Nora is an economist and social entrepreneur who has recently been appointed as a senior planning economist in the public sector of her country. She is passionate about economic development and policy planning, and ensuring that economic strategies drive sustainable progress. So welcome to the webinar, Nora. You can introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Basiba Noah Mafeja. I'm Togolese and I'm a social entrepreneur. And actually, have I have been selected as a planning economist in for public sector of my country. But I'm still running my private businesses of national and international money transfers. And I have a background of economists, as you know, and I love it because economics doesn't it doesn't limit you. You have so much skills in economics, like you know about economy, you know about mathematics, about economic tricks, about so many things that you can do everything. I think being an economist is having a large margin of opportunities. So that's why personally, I chose to be on my own account because of more because of personal goals, like developing myself. I didn't want to work at the beginning. I didn't want to work for government. I wanted to work for myself so that I can manage my time for family. And this is how I started running my business of national and international money transfers. And I learned a lot through this work because I think that in whatever the field is, you can you can be an economist, whether you work for health, whether you work in an hospital or in between lawyers, you can always be an economist because you can always bring your knowledge to make uh, any company develop itself. So it's really a passion for me to be an economist and an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Nora, and thank you to the other guests as well for sharing that with us. So the next question that I have, and if anyone else has a question, please feel free to raise your hand or pop it into the chat. I just wanted to find out, what is the most unexpected career opportunity or challenge that you have faced? We can start with Kanyisa, then Neil, then Nora.
Okay, so I think for me, I'm rooted in giving back and service. And I think for a long time, in fact, when I left varsity, I knew I wanted to be in strategy and risk. I didn't know what it looked like. I thought I'd do more model building because that was one of my majors at the time. But I also wanted to do it in an investment space because that was my other major. So when I landed at SARS and actually landed on a role that had the title I was looking for, but not the mathematics that I was hoping for at the time, I realized that I enjoyed giving back, doing service or public service, right? But I wanted the impact to feel like something, like I was adding actual value. And the biggest challenge was to be in a role. I mean, as my colleagues have said here, when you're in economics, you're deemed as curious, so you can actually adapt into other microfields as well. So I joined project management, I joined teams that were doing data analytics. And I think what was challenging for me was that I wanted it to link to a higher purpose. I think it was Nora who said she just had a passion for human progress, and she decided to be a social entrepreneur in that state. For me, I felt I wanted to know what I can use my economic skills for, and it took quite a while. Which now I have narrowed to say I care a lot about human progress. And in my country, South Africa, there's a whole lot of unemployment, which is one of the highest in the world, especially among the youth. And I worry a lot about how that impacts the working age, individuals who can work but are finding themselves in an economy that cannot grow enough to 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 generate jobs, and which can in fact affect their retirement savings. So a passion of mine is, yes, to drive conversations and be an advocate for financial inclusion, but also driving policy that will influence business or even public policy to ensure that we drive economic growth, for example, with reforms that are being adopted. So I think the biggest challenge was really finding what I wanted to add value with. And I say this because a lot of us want to be the economists we see on TV, who are normally macroeconomists, particularly in the investment space. But this profession is quite diverse and fills in many fields as well. And we can contribute, I mean, in academia, we can contribute in public policy, we can contribute our skill in the private sector and even in international organizations to drive these advocacy choices that we can see in our own societies, right? To say we want more jobs to be created. So I think as an economist, you kind of have to have a driving force to say, I want to be a development economist because I care a lot about this issue, and be the one that wants to be part of the solutions that your country or continent can even adopt. And so you see that I think more and more young economists are starting to find their niche. You find a lot of young economists moving, not really moving away, but also choosing to do agricultural economics, or for example, manufacturing or industrial policy, international trade, and a lot more are moving away from the mainstream monetary policy driven um, economics, because I think we have a lot of those types of economists, and the social ills that we do have in our communities actually require us to dig deeper into how we can solve the unemployment rate, for example, or structural unemployment rate in our communities, and how we can actually change mindsets in terms of behavioral economics to influence people to start thinking about, if I don't get a job, it doesn't mean that I must wait till retirement age to get a grant from government, but I could actually start developing some sort of service or product that you can trade, and then be the advocates to say we want open markets and drive government to have that influence for our communities. I think defining that for me took a while, in over a decade. I think just the last few years, say 2020, that's when I realized that actually this is the kind of work that I want to do. And so you'll see that most of the work that I've started to do since then advocates for gender equality. So even in my voluntary aspect as deputy chairperson of ABSEP Women in Focus, particularly in the investment space and the financial services sector, that's what we're trying to drive, to see more women take up roles in the financial services sector, have more inclusion in the decisions that will actually drive economic growth. Because it's one thing to know that women make things happen in terms of how we see it in our families, whether it's through stokvels, but the value of the female skill requires that the opportunity to be granted um, experience, because finance is a very male-dominated sector in South Africa, and you still want to see more women take up leadership roles and actually stay in those leadership roles and start making decisions that actually positively impact for financial freedom and inclusion for women as well.
Thank you for that, Kanyisa. Nell, please go ahead.
I met quite few challenges because when studying economics you go like okay, I've done economics. After finishing school I'll get work. I have this plan how we can develop the economy, how can we transform it for public sector to be the main employer, and only to be frustrated by unemployment. And also, as you look at the economy, looking that actually this is politically led economy. How are economists going to work with such political minded people? Because as for politicians, I think they're looking out for themselves more than looking out for the society. So it was really frustrating as an economist, because you thought after school you will bring change to the economy, but it's a struggle because the economy itself is not performing well, and the unemployment rate is escalating, and the little knowledge you got from school can't even help the economy, because even the economic planners at the government level are not being heard, because they have strategies in place that they were taught, but since the economy is led politically and the change were brought by political leaders on their own consciences or on their own interests. So it was really frustrating for me. And one, as Kanyisa said, mathematical courses such as economics are men dominated. So having to prove yourself as a woman was also one of the challenges we met, and having to fight for your position. Like I mentioned in my bio that I started as a clerk, data clerk, and my I worked myself up the ladder to become a manager, and it was not easy because you always needed to put to put more effort as a lady. Because I remember my boss then would say, "Oh, woman, the next thing you're pregnant, you want a maternity, now you're leaving the gap in the department." And you needed to say, yes, those are in place, but I can still put enough effort that the men can put within the department. And it took time for my efforts to be recognized. But being a man, men think they're smart, but I always say women are smarter. And because we don't need to fight for our positions, but our hard work always makes noise. That's my perception, though. But it was really frustrating for me to having to prove myself and having to do more as a lady in my field, and having to prove that I'm also capable and I can bring change within the department and bring growth as well. And it took me many years, but I think I always say the dedication with hard work and with time, everything will pay up. So that's one of the challenges I encountered. But currently, you taught people that don't look at gender, but look at the contribution that one does and appreciate the efforts. And it wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Neil. Nora, you can go ahead.
Okay. Um, so for myself, uh, when I when I finished studying, I was looking for a job at the first time, and I was called by the Central Bank of West Africa for an internship, and I couldn't go because I was pregnant. And I was like, this was a great opportunity for me, and I couldn't go. And then I was like, how can I manage to work and to have time for family also? Because what I can't do, I mean, I cannot still be seeking for a job without with when the job is up to me, I can't go. So I was like, wait, we are so many with a diploma in economics, but we don't have, for each currency we have only one central bank, or maybe only one. I wanted to work for something big like central bank or United Nations, something like that, and I couldn't because I was pregnant, I was sick, I was this and that, and I decided to start something. And I started by this uh, this company of money transfers, and I f- I loved it. Why? Because personally, I'm a person who like being a leader and someone who decide. I don't know if I don't speak good English, so I'm trying. Um, I like deciding. I like being the leader. So I was like, this is an opportunity. If I cannot work for uh, a multinational, I can work for myself. So I decided to create my thing and manage it like I could. But it was At the beginning, it was very difficult for me because, first of all, I had to raise funds. I didn't have much money. And the second challenge I had to face is to convince people to work with me, to collaborate with me. Because yes, I run a money transfer company, but I also collaborate with new companies that want to implement themselves in my country. So I help them implement their services in my country through my company. So I do that. And when you have an opportunity and they realize that you are a woman, they don't want to go with you. They started adopting. They are not sure that you can manage to implement their big company in your country. So they want a man. So most of the time to I had to work and not let them know that I'm a woman. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes I go through another one who is a man, but I'm the one who is working at the back. So this is the first challenge I met. This is the second challenge I met, and the third challenge I met is managing people. Oh God, managing people is difficult, and I think it should be it should be something that we learn at school because you know you have an idea, but you have people to manage, and when you have an idea, you know how you want it to go, where you want to bring your idea, what you want to bring, what you want your idea bring out. But that one who has to work for you, he is not in your mind. So you have to find the way to transmit, the way to make him do things like you want, and it's very difficult with people. Some of some of those who work for me, when I have a man who work for me, it's like they just see you like as a woman. Like when you order something, it's not okay with you. Just like those who are collaborating with you, like when they realize that you're a woman, they don't want. So you always have to prove yourself. You always have to do more than men to be accepted and to be trusted. This is the challenge I face, and I think that being an economist is like a chance for me. It's like because personally, I know that I can do everything. I can manage whatever the company is, whether it's big or small. I can manage to bring it to bring the growth out of it. So I don't think that when you finish studying, you should uh, wait for a job or you should seek for public sector job. You can create your job because in our country there are so many brands that don't exist and that exist in other countries that you can invite in your country. You can make I mean, you can invite brands in your country to implement. You can invite new societies, services that you don't have in your country. You can bring them in your country and manage to be the country manager of that brand in your country. So you have so much opportunities. You can also go in trade, international trade side. So this is what really ensure me to stay out of public sector and to work for myself. Because I think that working for myself make me go out of my limits. It makes me um, prove to myself that I can do more than what I think, and no limit for my skills. There is no limit for my skills. I have notion from schools. From school, I have notion about mathematics, about accounting, about statistics. So you can manage everything you want to manage. Don't don't wait for public sector, or don't wait for a job from your government. You can create, or when you don't have money, like I said, one of the challenges I faced was raising funds. When you don't have much money to start running a business, you can, like I said, invite and foreign company to come to your country, and you manage it without no much money invested in, and you become your own, I mean, your own boss, if I can say it. Thank you. I don't know if I can add something.
You
This is
can go.
how I this is how I started running my business, and these are kind of challenges I face.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nora, for that.
You're on mute.
Sorry for that. So I was saying thank you all for sharing your inspiring journeys. And it's fascinating to see how diverse parts can be within economics. However, at the same time, the challenges are somewhat very similar, especially seeing as women in the field, the experiences that you have had are very much quite similar. Taking from what Nora was saying and what Noah also is saying, and also from what Kanyisa works with in terms of like gender and equality. And so also the experiences that have been shared also highlight that the field is constantly evolving and requiring adaptability and continuous learning, and some sort of like strategic approach for career growth. And yeah, this leads us to the next question that we got in the chat that says, how can students and young graduates be work ready or prepare themselves to secure employment beyond their qualifications? And I think Nora had already started on speaking on that. And if you'd like to continue, you can go ahead, and then we can give the floor to Kanisa and Neil in that order. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying that when you finish studying and you are an economist, I think that you should not wait for government. There is not much banks for all of us as economists. When I was studying, I was like, I want to work for a big bank or for a central bank or for something like that, as I just said. But there's not much banks and services for all of us. And you can work without much money. You can start a business without much money. As I said, you can invite a brand in your country. You can invite a company or new services to come in your country. You are an economist. You can make statistics and study the market, propose it to new companies, foreign companies, and make them be sure that they will make profit in your country. Make them be sure that there is a market to there is a market to, to run in your country. Make them be sure that you can manage it. And they will trust, whether they trust or not, they will at least try to see if there is really a market in your country to exploit, and if they can make profit in your country. So you can start a business without money, I mean, much money like that. And when you do have money, you can also go through international trade. Nowadays, we have so much people going into international trade because I find out that it is another way of being a good economist. Why? Because like for example, in my country, Indians come to Togo and invest in buying soy. I don't know if you know it. They buy soy from Togo and they bring it to India and transform it. So, like, you can stay in your country, start a business of cereal or something new in your country or something available in your country, collaborate with people coming from foreign and become like you can create your company based on that, like starting something from things available in your country or maybe bringing something new from foreign to your country. This is two ways of implementing your own business.
Sorry about that. Okay. You can continue, Nora. Apologies.
Okay, okay. And the second thing I can propose to people is like you learn a lot when you run a business. I think you learn much than when you work for public sector. You learn a lot because uh, like when for example in my field running a money transfer company made me realize the rate of money sent from Africa to foreign, from Africa to Europe or from Africa to USA at each year. And from that, you can understand how your national economic development is going. It also made me realize that people don't buy services from Europe. They don't buy from, I think in Togo, what I realized working in my field is that people don't buy services from Europe, they don't buy services from China. When they buy services, they buy few services, but they buy much goods to sell back here in our countries. But some of the time, it's like buying goods from China, for example. You have to when you want to buy goods from China, you have to deal at a certain level of amount that you want to send to your collaborator. You have to make it go through Europe. Like SEPA, when you take SEPA, you have to make it go through Europe, transform it in euro, and it will be sent to your receiver. This is something I learned from my company, and this is something that can explain why people using franc CFA don't want to stay in that currency because in international trade it is not a recognized currency. So you see that just going from sending money, I learned that. And there are also like some products, some money transfer products older than Western Union, MoneyGram, and products that we know they are coming from Europe and USA. There are some products developed by Africans for Africans. For example, in Central of Africa, you have some money transfer products that are only for Central African countries, and you don't have it each in all the countries of Africa. So you can be someone who starts a business from that. You can see where is the generation located, invite them because you have some people coming from those countries in your country. They must need they need for sure to bring money or to send money to their parents in their countries, in their home countries. And you start something like that. You start something from there. You bring something new from there. So there are so much opportunities to exploit that today being an economist and waiting for a job is, I think it's not acceptable for me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nora. As someone who is studying international trade, it's very interesting insights that you had and how you can actually be self-employed or be a social entrepreneur like yourself in the international trade space. Thank you very much for that. Kanisa, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I think maybe there's a few things that you can also explore, right? I think our profession is very much thought of to be very easy. You'll find accountants wanting to comment on economic developments because they've got economics one as part of their qualification. So I think in terms of studying further, because of our level of curiosity and wanting to, and as you said, things evolving so much that you need different ways to be able to think critically and be more analytical to also keep up, right, with technological advances. You want to be at the center of discussion. So I think with an economics qualification, yes, study further. And in some countries, before they even consider you an economist, they will say, do you have a PhD? And we don't have that in South Africa. So advancing yourself it actually does set you apart. I think the nice thing about the ways of work now is that we have technology, we have your platforms like your LinkedIn, where you can actually start showcasing your talent even when you're still in varsity. So you don't have to wait till you get employment to be able to say you have a thing to advocate for. In fact, I encourage young economists to start actually having opinion about what they see in public policy, what they see in the private sector, so that it gives them training to write about their analytical approach and be able to put their technical skill into thoughts, because what we do as economists, yes, we churn the numbers, we run the econometric models, but we also need to be telling the story. So the creativity part comes from more reading and more engagement. So building relationships also helps put yourself out there. People must know what you are about, what problems you can solve, and it makes it easier for you to maneuver. And every time there is a social or economic problem, you come to mind because you have a passion for analytics, you have a passion for problem solving, and especially with how we go through trends, right? Right now, the biggest trend is ESG. It's not to say every economist has learned environmental or climate change, but that's something you can acclimatize yourself to because you have that brain that wants to keep learning, right? So you find a niche for yourself if you can, so that you become known for I solve problems in energy, or I understand the world of ESG. And you'll find that even in one space like that, um, you can tap into the other micro parts of it. So you could be an energy economist who also deals in fund management, who also advises in the actual procurement of some of these energy equipment that's required. You could also advise in terms of policy. So it's not to limit yourself, because we have such a diverse qualification that allows us to see how the economy actually works and to also dissect each part of the economy to be able to solve and identify risks and then opportunities that we can, do. Our ability to understand geopolitics, link it back to industry, link it back to business, gives us that advantage to have to be in the room. So you can think about building a rapport for yourself in terms of writing. I read a book by one of my favorite economists, Dambisa Moyo, who's now Berenice Dambisa Moyo. And she wrote that she always wanted to be in corporate boards, but because as an economist, you weren't always invited in those days, right? You always had your lawyers or your CAs, your engineers, but an economist was always thought as an add-on or a special skill that would come in when they needed an overview. And what gave her an advantage was that she started writing books about um, foreign aid, about things that she was passionate about, and why developing economies were not advancing as quickly as they should with all the support they were getting at the time. And I think that becomes important, that have your advocacy known, because then that gives you an opportunity to also solve big problems for your government, for your private sector, and even for yourself in terms of the community that you're in. So I think there's a variety of jobs that we can create for ourselves. If you look at the World Economic Forum's top jobs, economics is right up there as well, because of our ability to take social, political, economic, investment data and create these narratives that help businesses start to create understanding of where they're doing business, what kind of returns they can get, how sustainable those that business and returns can be. Because ultimately, our job is to allocate resources, or at least help the other players within the economy allocate resources efficiently, and how they allocate those is from us understanding what the resources are, what the needs are, and how they can be distributed.
Thank you so much for that, Kanyisa. Neil, you can give us your insights.
Okay, my camera is no longer enabling me to be visible, but I think there needs to be a change in curriculum in economics, because like Nora was saying, we all want to work in central bank, JSE, when we finish school, but move to more of the social economics, where we can be independent as economics as well, because all of us are more dependent on the public sector or private sector to hire us, instead of thinking what we can do out of this. So it means we should also incorporate the entrepreneurship skills into the economics curriculum, so that the options are more broadened, because honestly, most of us thought, oh well, you study economics, you work in the central bank, you work in the economic planning, you work into finance, and the options were that broad. But actually coming to reality, it's not that easy. So having the mentality to do for ourselves needs to start back in school. I was happy in my country, economics was introduced at high school level, meaning they'll grow up knowing broader about economics, because some of us knew about it when we finished school and were researching on what to do and what not to do. And I think one of the um, low cost businesses is to consider agricultural economics, how we can use what we have to produce, because honestly, we can hardly find organic food anymore. We eat unhealthy food because that's the only option we have. But I'm hoping we can bridge more and tap more into the agricultural economics, and tap on it into it to help the economy grow and also to produce, because it's one of the booming sectors, as we can see. And honestly, we need tomatoes, every day you need a vegetable. So tapping into that will also assist. And for myself, for people who don't like buying and selling, like where you need to approach a client regularly, hey, I'm selling this, hey, buy my product. You can also invest into real estate, uh, invest into property, because property, when we have rental places, the only time you get to advertise is when your tenant is going out. You don't regularly need to interact with people, especially if you are not a people's person. And also, if you are already working, um what we can advise is we should start investing, because honestly, we are a society that spends more than we invest. And we never think for, what if tomorrow I don't have a job, what if tomorrow I don't have an income. So to start practicing being economic and actually prioritizing more on savings and investment than spending. So that's what I can give out. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone who gave their insights. So there's a question in the chat box from Oluwafemi. I hope I said your name correctly. The question is, how important are professional exams to young economists, and what are the professional certificates that we can get? Anyone can take the question.
Okay, I can go. So, like I said, with economics, usually our Western counterparts prefer that to be level with them, you have a PhD, right? But for certification, I think it depends on what you're passionate about or what's the current wave that you feel you can be part of. So right now, ESG certifications are out there. You could do that. Energy certifications to become more inclined with what energy or energy investment, energy financing. You can also do certifications like I think what YGES has in terms of being a chartered economist. And that will give you an edge, right? And also anything to do with environmental and climate change certifications, which I think the CFA provides as well. Frankel Templeton provides, and other institutions also provide that international certification, which then gives you an advantage. And then there's also CFA, qualified chartered financial analyst or even professional. You can also do the FRM certification, that's for financial risk managers, even enterprise risk management, because all of it actually does want to incorporate. So as an economist, I think what's important to understand is that economics on its own, it's just a social science. And I think, you know, when you've done development economics, it's almost like, what do we do with all of this heavy information? There's so much unemployment, there's so much malnutrition, or whatever the problems are, because it gives you that, right? It gives you a almost like a microscopic view of all the social ills that are happening. But the so what of it becomes more important. For example, central banks want to understand what interest rates or inflation is going to be so that interest rates can be a policy influencer. And so that's what you need to bring in to say, okay, for the investment world, inflation is important because investors want returns that are above inflation. So you will be monitoring that. And for different entities, it's really different things that matter or regimes that matter for them. So that when you do give advice as an economist, you're able to say, because of your input, you've helped them make decisions that grow their business, that increase or maximizes returns for their clients, and also solve some of these social policies that governments around the world are trying to also solve for. So yeah, there's a variety. You just need to, research on it and see what you're passionate about.
Thank you very much for that, Kanyisa. The next question, what's the difference between a male economist and a female economist? Is there a unique difference between both genders in the profession?
I can take this one. So I think that there should not be a difference. Normally, there should not be a difference because you learn the same thing, you have the same certificate. There should not be a difference. But we know socially that in Africa, or I don't know, maybe not only in Africa, but we know that socially men do not trust women when it comes to professional field. They trust you for cooking, for managing family, for anything else. But when it comes to professional skills, it's like genuinely the people think genuinely that a man is more intelligent than a woman. So this is the difference that people brought into professional society, and it should not be considered like that. This is my opinion. Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I think that being a man or a female, just work hard and just be as good as you can in the field that you work in and prove what you are able to do. That's all. You will be needed, be needed. I would say that having a certificate is not, um, it is not enough. Be needed when you work somewhere. Be like the one who will be sick for when he's not there. So whether you were a man or a woman, be the one as good as they need you at all time for something you are good at, and you are the only one who is good at it in your company or in your sector. Be good at something, and there is why certification difference are introduced. Like like Kanyasa said, having a certificate in renewable energy, you are different from someone who just came out with a PhD or a master degree in development, economics development. It's so large that you are not um, you are not particular in your field. To be particular, be needed, be as good as you can, and be the only one as good as you can be in your field. That's it. That's what I can say.
Do you want to add to what Nora has said, to say perhaps maybe the question is around feminism, right? Because there is no difference between a male economist and a female economist, but the study of gender economics was brought about because, as you will know, that economics was designed by men. So the father of economics, Adam Smith, he's the one that was formerly um, um, reported to state what an economic state would be. And the current economy that the world is actually living on or working on was designed by Kynes, right? So when you think of it that way, it tells you that that's why we've had a history of societal norms that had women as support roles or more in the K economy that was not accounted for because it wasn't professional, it wasn't adding to productivity. And so gender economics was then introduced as a way to say, hang on, men are thriving in this professional space because they have women taking care of the needs that on a day-to-day basis they would need, right, to thrive in their roles. And so we needed to then account for, so you understand that time use data then says, okay, for women who stay at home with children, what amount of their day is actually spent on self-care? And you'll find, and actually there's a recent report by the IMF that actually showed that men, as much as they are mostly employed in the formal sector and even the informal sector, they have more leisure time than women do. And that's because women do more care work in terms of childcare, elderly care, sick care, than men actually do. And so you need a gender economics to say, you need policies that will say, 100 years ago, women or girl children were not allowed to go to school. And so we've had policies that have reversed that, and we've seen more young girls get more qualified than boys even in many countries and regions. But they get into the workplace and it's not conducive. Why? Because the capitalist system was not designed for the kind of worker a female is. One of the conversations I had at the bank that I work for with a lady who's been there for more than 30 years, she said to me, it's very interesting how when she started working at the bank, there were not even air conditions at the time, but you could only plug in your computer and a work phone, right? And when women started to reach menopause stage, they started flashing and being very hot. They were not allowed to have fans on their desks, for example. And because this wasn't generally a thing that a man would think about, that's why you would need a female in those spaces to say, you bring a perspective that is not necessarily the BAU of the place, so that people can start thinking broadly. And nowadays, I mean, some offices even offer sanitary pads and all of that, because you needed to account for the female in the workplace. You needed to account for the female in society more than just them being good for childcare, for, so you know how social norms just will box women to be mothers, bearers of families, but not then pay them, right? Because care work is unpaid most of the time. And now we're moving also into societies where men are saying, I'm happy for my wife to work and I'll stay home with the kids. And as much as social norms and egotistical behavior will challenge them or look down on them, but that's where we're going, where people now have a choice. And I think gender economics or feminism, feminist economics just brings that lens to say you need to look at policies that will not disadvantage any of the genders. I think one thing that is important is to say gender economics is not to say it favors women over men. It's to say you need an equitable environment for each individual to be able to bring out their best selves and achieve for their highest potential, which will be a benefit of the society they live in. So I think it's very important to understand that there isn't any difference between a male or a female economist. But if you're looking into gender-specific economics, is to ensure that you drive policies that will not disadvantage any of the genders' ability to show up in an economy as their best selves, to also improve that economy. And I'll give you an example. During COVID in South Africa, they issued a social grant, social distress grant, and they said only children will get it. And then if you're a mother, and then they said they will add the SDR for people who are unemployed. But they said if you're a mother receiving a grant, you are not eligible for the unemployment grant. But that then strips off the human right of the female, because you could be a mom but still unemployed. So the man can be a dad and get the money, but the woman can't get the money because they're getting the child grant. And as soon as government was made aware in terms of policy advocacy and all of that, then they had to change that and say, oh, hang on, everyone then who's unemployed is able to get that grant. So those are the kind of things that when you look at policy, you have to have a gender lens to it to ensure that everyone is accounted for. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kanyisa, for that. And thank you also, Nora, for the insights as well. Very insightful. And I'm sure the person who asked the question, they were answered. Apologies for the for the lighting that's being weird. ESCOM happened. So yeah, but I'm sure I'm sorted now. Thank you. So the next question, and I'll ask Neo to answer it as best as she can. I have been a research analyst intern for more than 2 years in the public sector. I then went to consulting. My fear is that I feel like I have only been exposed to one segment of economics. How do I broaden my skills for private companies to notice me too?
Okay, thank you so much. The only advice I can give is studying other um, sectors that he or she would like to go into, because not necessarily go to school full time, but there are online courses on the particular skill that you can learn. For example, you can go to our listen courses. If you want to do data quality, for example. And there are different kinds of economics that you can also come abroad. It depends on which sector do you want to bridge on, and um, to if you don't have an experience in such, your qualifications then will need to widen your CV or make it recognizable, because sometimes you can see that there is no funding to go back to school, but short courses are more affordable and some are even free. So you just need to start learning that particular module or whatever you are interested in, and that also can bring about the experience you need. And also start volunteering. I know I heard he said or she said she is in the public sector, but volunteering also adds to your CV, because the other non-profit organization that might be doing the particular thing that you want to do on weekends or after hours, learning that particular module or whatever sector department or you want to divert into, because usually when we apply we are required of it's either a qualification or experience, and you can still intern on such while you are on a learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Neil. I just want to remind the audience that they can raise their hand and then I will unmute them and they can ask their question. If there are people who are more comfortable with raising their hands and speaking, please feel free to use the raise your hand feature. Thank you. And then another question that is there for our panelists is, what are the opportunities for economists in data science and analytics? Anyone can take the question.
Okay, so I can take this one. I think that for private sector or for running a business, data analysis is the first step to implement something, to implement a business. Even if it's not um, for yourself, even if it's a new company, data you always start by studying the market. So you need data analysis. So it's very important. Personally, I would like to take some courses or maybe internship in data analysis because I need it. Because when I collaborate with, for example, when I collaborate with new companies, before you convince them to implement something in your country or to let you leave something from them in your country, you need to prove to them that you can make profit, as I said. So you need to prove it with numbers, analysis. So this is the first step. You cannot just try to convince someone with words and sentences. No, you need to prove it with graphics, numbers, analysis. So it's really important to start from there and then add social contact to it. So when someone thinks that data analysis is too, like, it's not, it doesn't bring a large margin of opportunity, I don't think I don't think it's right. I think if you have more opportunities with started with when you start with data analysis, but the other fields you can learn them. For example, when you go to have an when you want to have an internship in a company, maybe in secretarial or in accounting office, you don't have to know much about it. You just have you can learn by looking people work, looking others work. You can learn from that. But you can't learn data analysis from looking people do from looking people managing numbers. You have to learn it. So it's very important to in private sector and also in public sector because for each amount that your country would like to invest in something, they need to know that the impact expected will be reached. So they need numbers, they need you, data analyzer, they need you. So you're not limited. That's what I can say.
Thank you so much, Nora, for
Thank you.
we have a hand up from Michael. Michael, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry, it must have been a mistake. I'm Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Okay, so I have a question. It's what if you are currently in a role that you are not so much interested in, but you had to get it because of the economic crisis in the country, but you want to do what you really love, which is economics. You are studying for it, going to programs and all that. How do I break from what I'm currently doing to economics? Because you are applying to places and they're also looking at your background. So the work experience you currently have is not economics, but that's what you are into. How do you break from what you are doing now to get into what you want to do? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for that question. Very interesting question, I might add. Is there anyone who'd like to respond?
Sure. So, Susan, the advantage of wanting to do economics is that you can actually enter it, and the choice will be yours, right? And I say that because with economics, you need to showcase, and as I've stated in the beginning, to say you're not currently doing what you say you want to do, right? But you have a passion. And how you keep up with that, I think someone also said it here. You volunteer in that space that you want to do, right? So that you are still gaining the skill in it. You are writing or doing what we're doing now. We participate in discussions in panel discussions, in podcasts, talk about the things that you are passionate about, because what that does, it gives the other person an interest. So if someone goes onto you, say your LinkedIn page, for example, then they'll see like, oh, these are the things that you're interested in. You're interested in inflation. And it doesn't have to be your own thoughts to begin with if it's not your field. For example, statistics, national statistics will issue out inflation numbers, and you just post that or repost that and have a comment, hey, inflation has gone up or inflation has gone down. These were the drivers of that. People start seeing that you're interested in that, and it then shows. Not always will having a qualification directly mean that you will get into it, but having it also helps, right? Because you have the theoretical training, but what you need to showcase now is that you have the ability. I have a mentee who went into, her first job was in equity research, and she wants to become a mainstream economist. And I said to her, no role is deemed null and void or a waste of your effort. In fact, when you join the dots later in your career, you'll realize why you had to do that, particularly if you're in an economics field, because all the equity research she has been able to do has led her into an investment space where she's doing manager research for one of the largest funds in the country. And what that has given her an idea of how the economics of the investment world works without first being an economist. And by the time she reaches that, she would have already known what questions to ask, what problems to solve. So don't underestimate where you are. But as you're building to your ideal, know that you just need to be seen. You just need one person to say, hey, I read your article. You wrote such a stunning piece, and it doesn't have to be technical. I mean, most of us have done mini dissertations in our qualification, so you know how to write. So don't lose that ability. Keep practicing, read what others, and find your language or your writing style so that people will know what your advocacy is, and you're able to showcase it and talk about it and participate. So to get yourself there, sometimes it'll be a coffee chat more than an application through a recruitment process. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Kanyisa. We have 3 more questions. The first question is the importance of mentorship, and when is it the right time to have a mentor? Yes, what is the importance of mentorship, and when is the right time to have a mentor? I can see you're
Okay, so
unmuted.
because this is this is part of the work that I do at Absa Women in Focus, right? So particularly because I mentioned that the financial sector is really very rigid. And so you need to be more aligned with mentoring young women to become the leaders of the future that we're looking for. So mentorship is very important, but I would say, right, before you even seek out mentorship, because some people think it has to be a long-term relationship or it has to be formalized, you kind of need to know what you're trying to solve for. So I wasn't always sure of what I wanted to solve for. And so I would get mentors and be frustrated that they can't help me because I was asking the wrong questions and they couldn't necessarily give me the answers that would benefit. So having a mentorship relationship is also you showcasing that you want to get to a place and you're not sure how, and you want to do it in fewer steps than perhaps your mentor has done in the past. So that relationship is usually, I would recommend, short, 3 to 6 months. And if it develops into a friendship, great. But I think what a lot of economists don't get to invest in is getting a coach. And I say a coach and not necessarily a career coach, because career coaches can sometimes just be broad, right? They help you with building up your workflow, how you manage your time and all of that. But for an economist, it's like going to the gym for the right thing. You want to be able to think like an economist for that thought leadership that you will be bringing. You want to be able to run models, in your econometric models, and you kind of have to be practicing that, because like mathematics, if you don't do it, you forget, right? And so you need to be constantly training yourself about the things that you're passionate about. So whether you're reading articles of people that you appreciate, and then the other thing is to say that relationship, yeah, you and your mentor, is really driven by the mentee. So you need to have 3 questions or more that you're trying to solve for, and say, listen, I want to get to point B, and I'm currently in point A, and I'm not sure what the path looks like. And then the mentor can tell you that, you know what, you think you want plan B, you want to move from A to B, but in fact, where you are, you're already at C, right? Perhaps you don't see how good you are. And I think that's what mentors do. They let you see your potential, but also make your challenges less heavy to bear, right? So they make it the path a little bit easier for you to navigate. And sometimes they'll give you even pointers. One of the things that we struggle with in our industry is that women don't interview well when they are looking for jobs. This is feedback we constantly get, and it's not that they're not technical or qualified, but there's something about either nerves or the practice of how do you, because women usually will say the nice things about their friends, like, oh, my friend is, she's brilliant, she analyzes things so quickly, but they can't say the same about themselves when they need to, in most cases. So you would get a mentor who will help you articulate your skill, your craft, so that you're able to get into places and be sure why you're in the room. Because unfortunately, in the industry that I work in, when you do get into the room, your voice has to be heard, because you have a long pipeline of young females who might not get a chance at the room. So it's not enough to be, I'm the first Black person, I'm the first woman to be in a space. You need to be able to say, in fact, how many more can come in with me, and lift as you rise. And mentorship is about that, to say you can't solve all the problems on your own, and you would want people who are as passionate as you to also lead in that front.
Oh, thank you so much, Kanisa, for that. For that. Is there anyone else who would like to add on, or I can ask the next question? Okay. The next question is, how do students network their way into employment? How do you get that cup of coffee? One-on-one chat. Kanisa did speak about how sometimes it's all about getting what you want through a cup of coffee. So how do we get there to having that cup of coffee?
Okay, I can start. I think what was easier for me was to volunteer as part of these organizations that are available within my society, right? So there's various ones. So accountants, for example, in my area have an accounting for women forum. There's Black managers forum. There's different forums available for young people to join, and usually societies are introduced at university level. And so I was also introduced to ABSIP when I was still in university. And at the time, I just went to the event to hear about the professionals, what they were doing, not necessarily for me to say if I meet them, I'll get a job. But I realized, to build your network, people got to have to know who you are, what you're studying, I suppose, if you're a student, but also what you're passionate about. I have one lady who said to me, she was going to be interviewed at one of these graduate programs, and she was going to meet one of the managing founders. And as we were preparing for her to go there and the types of questions to ask and things like that, and I said, the pressure is that you want to meet the CEO of something and you want to be awkward by asking them difficult questions. And they're actually human beings. And perhaps you want to start the conversation to say, oh, I see you're drinking coffee. Oh, I'm a tea girl. I prefer this. And then you laugh about that and you start easing into a conversation. And then you mention, I'm passionate about gender economics. I want to see equality in terms of retirement, especially for women because they live longer than men, yet they spend most of their earned income taking care of family. And when they do get to retirement age, and in a country like ours, they then have to live with their adult children who are unemployed, and that retirement goes back to serving family themselves. And then the conversation goes from there to say, oh, okay, so you're in the pension fund space, you enjoy that type of, and so this particular girl said to this managing founder, I want to be a CEO one day. What are the things that, keep you awake? And a few years later, she joined the company as an analyst, didn't get to meet the CEO again, but as she moved up rank, she was then called to say, oh, remember you said you want to be CEO? There's an executive course that's coming up. Would you like to participate? So people want to firstly be appreciated. So when you meet someone, you've probably read about them or you're curious about them, and give them a compliment like, hey, I like your work, what you're doing in that space, and then start saying what you're interested in, link it to whatever problem they might, also be interested in, and you never know. And as you meet more people, people start talking about the same person. Like, oh, you also know Neo. Oh, wow, she's really good with monitoring and evaluation. Hey, we should bring her in for this fund. And then that's how conversations go. And also when you've applied for roles, don't leave it at the application. And if you get a rejection note, you have the prerogative to actually ask, please let me know, give me constructive feedback or actionable feedback. How do I improve for this role somewhere else? So give me something I can work with. So, and it's never to be personal, right? And I know at the time you need the job, and if you get rejected, you take it so personally. It means you're not good enough. It's not that. It's just that the role wasn't yours at the time. And when the right role comes, you'll be more prepared, right, for it. So I think just be open to saying you want to engage with more people. I was an introvert, I thought, although I was a person who, when I'm with people, you would think that, oh, this one likes people. But in fact, people would drain me. But I realized that in my role, um, you won't get far if you sit in your corner. And unfortunately, even if you work hard and some people see it, it's other people who will say this is the bonus they deserve, or this is like, oh, but we hardly hear from her. Yeah, she does good work, so let's keep her doing the good work. You don't want to, it seems like she's okay, so we'll just keep her in the corner. And you don't want that. You want progress, you want to grow in your role. And so that's why, and men do it so well. I think that's another thing to learn from men. Speak about even your potential, because women want to be perfect first. You want to have done the work first and then say, see what I've done. I can do it more. I can do more. But for men, it's like, I think I can do that. And they run with it. So that's a confidence you just have to have in your ability to learn stuff. not necessarily in your ability to remember what good stuff you've done in the past, but things that you know that no one will take away how much hard work you put in. You know how many hours you put into a project and it becomes excellent. That's your superpower. So use that to engage people and ask for roles and ask them like, okay, are you employing? Do you have a role? And sometimes you'll find that it can be created if it's not available yet.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Nora, you were also unmuting your mic. Would you like to add on?
Yes, I would like to add something to what Kenyatta just said. She, I mean, I think she said a lot about it. And what I want to add is that, um, when you want something, you have to be bold and to be confident. Don't take a no as a response to go back. Always be ready to have a no as a response, but it must not stop you. Even if it's someone that you meet in a meeting or in a big event, go to that person. Or whatever his level in society is, be bold, be ready to go to that person. You say, "Oh, I admire you so much," and be ready to get. I mean, be sure that you know a lot about that person so that you can impress him. So you impress that person so that he just he's just happy to meet someone who knows so much about him. And this is the first step. This makes people open their gates for you. If I can say gates, they open gates for you. They tell you some things that um, they were not ready to say or to tell to anybody, but they will tell you because so much admiration is like a pride for them. So don't take a no as a response and be confident. You know, confidence can make you lose, can make you fail, but it doesn't make you a loser. If you don't have to go beyond your fears of people to introduce a conversation with someone you admire or someone really high, maybe a minister you met in an event and you are just invited, the minister is there, you can go to the minister, take your courage and because opportunities they don't you don't you're not sure to have the same opportunity once again. So I always say that an opportunity never comes twice. When you have the time, take it and don't lose your opportunity to go to someone you want to become like. This is what I can add. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Nora. Thank you for all the insights that you have all shared. Is there any question? We can take one last question. There's just a comment that is saying, "Well done, ladies." Guessing there are no more questions. Okay, so before we close and hand over to the president to give us a vote of thanks, do the panelists have any like closing remarks and tips to share just to conclude? Yeah, their last words. We can start with Nora, then Neo, then Kenisa, then we hand over to Nobanda.
Thank you. So I think my last advice is don't wait for people to make things for you. Make things by yourself. Go to opportunities, create opportunities for yourself. When you are an economist, you can do whatever you want to do. You can manage when you you can manage even if you are taken to a hospital, you can make it big because you are the only one who knows how to manage finances at that hospital to make it a, a great hospital of your area because you are the only economist there. But when a medical doctor is uh, is at your place, you cannot do the same thing that you can do. So don't wait for people to bring opportunities to you. Create them. Go to opportunities. There are so much to do when you are an economist. Just be bold, just be confident, but be sure that when you are trusted by someone, you won't you won't make things go. I mean, like for example, for me, running a private business for 5 years without bankrupt, you can call yourself a business developer. So this is this is what I want people to understand. Be ready to bring your knowledge, to add your your skills when someone trusts you, and when someone trusts you to run his business, or when someone trusts you um, to invest in your business and create your own opportunity. You can do everything you want to do in social field and medical field. When you are an economist, you can add something to people, even socially, because what you do bring um, development to people, to your community, and you. I mean, I don't have much to say. Really be a good leader. That's all. Be a good leader. It's that. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nora. Now you can go ahead.
Okay. The only or advices I can give for those who are still in school, consider volunteering while you're still searching for your business, your employment, your final contract, because volunteering opens doors. You get to meet different people. You get to learn a lot through volunteering because you'll see that intern opportunities are lower, the employment opportunities are lower, but through volunteering you'll see that you get exposed to different people, and the best thing when you're already internal, when we look for somebody to hire, we consider the people who are already within the organization, and those who are already within the sector. Be a leader who pulls others up. um yes, you might be the best, but ensure that your team knows what is going on. So be a leader who helps others to learn, be a team player. And also, if you're somebody who wants to try new opportunities, you can also um, do online courses just to have a brief of what you're trying to find yourself in. You might see that maybe you want to bridge into political economics, and as you are studying this short course, you see that this is not my thing at all. So you might try something else, so without any major cost. And yeah, let's be economists who explore opportunities, because myself, I'm now into research and monitoring and evaluation, and I'm loving it. but I'm also an economist by profession, but I just decided um, to love what I'm doing and to learn more into it. And knowing that as a social science scientist, we have broad opportunities. Like even if you want to go into data science, you already qualify if you have experience in that, and there's a lot that you can do with just being an economist. So let's explore those opportunities. Thank you.
On my side, I think echoing also from my colleagues is that as an economist, you are well placed and well positioned to drive innovation and growth in the spaces that you do choose. And also you have the prerogative to drive your own destiny, because this is a qualification that actually broadens your scope, and you can literally put your foot in any lake to try and see what you like, because economists altogether, they play a critical role in shaping development policies, in driving growth or development in emerging markets. They also are advocates in fostering entrepreneurship, addressing social ills, and I think you've chosen the right qualification, and you are qualifying or are in or have this qualification at the right time, because this, more than anything, our continent requires our critical thinking to shape policy. And you'll see that with most of the elections that have happened in our continent from last year on, we've seen a divergence in terms of political power, and that tells you that things are shifting and new thinking is required, and you are at the forefront of that. So don't be sitting back hoping that someone will call you up. Move and push boundaries and be the one that talks about the things that are relevant in making things different in your country. And I like what our speakers have already said: make the opportunities for yourself. No one else is going to save you, unfortunately. You are just well equipped, well trained to do that yourself. And thank you.
Thank you very much for everything that has been said here. Thank you for inspiring us. And yeah, like it was very insightful. So I'll hand over to Nwanda. Thank you.
Evening, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. So my name is Nokwanda Matenjwa. I'm the president of the Young Global Economists Society, and I'd just like to give a round of applause to the ladies. If we can all clap, if you have icons there, just clap with your hands. Thank you so much for your time and just being so prompt with the invitation that we sent to you. It's as though you were just waiting and ready to impart all your knowledge, all your wisdom, all your years of experience. And we at YGES appreciate that so much. So this is the first edition of the female cohort. So we had our first career sessions last year, and it was an all-male panel, although we had invited females, but I guess it was a matter of just availability. So we decided going forward, we'll have a female session, and then following that, we'll have a more diverse session. So yes, all power to the women today, but we are a very inclusive organization, and we're inclusive not only by gender, we're inclusive also in just reach. So we are global, not just by name. Our team, our executive team, it just spans across Asia Pacific and Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa and West and East Africa. And as you guys can see with the panel, it's Kainisia from South Africa, Nora, who's from Togo, which is in West Africa, and Nero, who's our neighbor here in Lesotho. So it just speaks of the diversity of the organization, the inclusiveness of the organization. And so thank you for all the participants that joined us today. What I do just want to maybe respond to a question by Mo, tell you now, just to add on to what Nora said, Mutlato. about opportunities for economists in data science and analytics. So we are in AI, we are in machine learning. That is the future of work. You know, those type of industries are going to shift and change how we work. And so if you are considering, even as in studying econometrics, it gives you a good foundation to move into those fields of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I just say read up about it, understand what it is, understand what it means. Behavioral science is also included in that. Kanyisa had already mentioned how we're moving more into the cognitive type of behavioral elements with regards to just economics, which is more of a micro type of economic field. Just a few pointers for myself. I was sitting here and listening and thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I was still a student or a young professional. And I was sitting in this session and just taking in all this wisdom and all this knowledge, because for most of us, I'm sure the panelists can agree as well, we didn't have such opportunities. You know, we didn't have, I mean, at UJ, when I was in university, I did run an economic society, but it was localized. It was very like local community being only at my university. It was not global in the way that it is. It was not in terms of the type of engagements, initiatives that it had. Very few were from young professionals like myself, or that I was aspiring to be like, to come and help me navigate real people who sit and tell you about their stories and their challenges and just give you hope, an inspiration to say and help guide your own path, to say you may not be where you want to be, like Kanisa says. In hindsight, it will all make sense, you know. So don't despair. I know Susan was saying she wants to get into close, but she's not in that field. But wherever you are, just excel in it, and you will, and just equip yourself, either in terms of education or just in terms of volunteering. I think most of our guests here have mentioned the importance of volunteering. You know, Kanisa being the vice president of an organization, Nora in her community, and now, you know, all these speakers that are here are not just economists by qualification or by desire or aspiration. They actually live it. They may not live it in the fancy title of economist, but they live it in their daily lives and how they impact the lives of those around them in the little way that they can. And that always adds up. So, like, don't look at the big picture, you know, take the big picture and break it up and use that as your stepping stones and build your blocks up to where it is that you need to be. Another is to apply for graduate programs. There are a lot of graduate programs, very diverse, and you obviously need to do, your grades need to be very good because they are very competitive. So make sure you do excel at school. And the importance or the benefit of being or volunteering while you're in school, it equips you with those soft skills that Kanisa was speaking about, to say, how do you present yourself to the world? So being a part of an organization, let's say like YGES, or an organization maybe that's investment related, if that's the field you want to get into as an economist, equips you with the ability to be social, to be able to engage with different people, to handle conflict, to think critically, to be innovative, outside just the theoretical knowledge that the degree gives you. And like Nell said, I also do strongly believe the curriculum needs to change, but that is beyond my pay grade. But we just hope people who will eventually get into academia can drive that advocacy. It's not going to be immediate, it will take time. And that's why we have organizations like YGES, where we are moving away from mainstream. We're actually teaching you what you aren't taught in the classroom. The career sessions is just one of the programs that we have. We have webinars that we get speakers from across the world, esteemed professors who come and speak to us about particular themes that are of topical interest, be it Africa, be it green industrialization, be it financing development in Africa or emerging markets. So we are here to just provide you with tools over and above what you are currently receiving at university. And so I would say, you know, join our organization. We will have programs that are owned, that will be exclusive to paying members. We have exciting programs in store for the year, and I hope with our guests, I know you guys are busy, that this won't be the end of our engagements and our relationships. We do have a need for you guys going forward with other initiatives that we will have. So we do believe that this will be the beginning of sustainable relationships and relationship, but obviously also if you guys have insights that you guys would like to share with us in relation to what is out there that you know that people within your work environments need, or that gap that exists when you maybe interview students, that we can in some form try and gap and narrow. So the other thing I wanted to mention was around the qualifications. I know ICCE, as Kanisa mentioned, does have a broad specialization in terms of the economics profession, being financial economist, petroleum economist, energy economist, health economist, managerial economist, marine economist, labor economist, international economist, and agricultural economist. So if you want to get into those spaces, there's a qualification that's there for you to complete or to pursue rather. I know ICC does offer scholarships, because you might be thinking, oh, I don't have money, I'm not working, I'm still a student. But they do offer scholarships for those that are interested. So it's just all about saying, differentiate yourselves. Don't just be a student. Participate on campus and look for opportunities. There's free courses. I think Kanisa mentioned on LinkedIn, I know MIT or Stanford, they offer free courses for different that you guys can equip yourselves with. So the last thing I just want to add is to say, I mean, everyone wants to work for big organizations. All of us had these grandeur dreams. I want to work for Reserve Bank, Central Bank, World Bank, UN. I'm sure for some of us, those dreams are still there. And we're just saying, we'll get there, don't rush the process. I need to be here to learn what I need to learn, develop the skill sets I need to develop. So when I get there, I'll be sharp. But also I would encourage you guys to work with small organizations. In a small organization, you get a lot of work, but it develops you more than a person who will go into a big organization and have just maybe a little chunk of work. That's number one. So you're stretched because they obviously have more scope than the resources they have, or they just have a lot of work, or it's just the pressure. Secondly, you get exposure. So you get exposed to leadership there, because the structure of leadership is not as hierarchical as it would be in a corporate. It's more flat. And you actually you leave there with a portfolio of experience, not only just technically, but also personally and in terms of your character as well. So don't underestimate what a small research organization can give you, or a small think tank can give you, even on campus. Be a research assistant, be a tutor. All those things count on your CV, because when you do apply to those jobs, they want references. If you have no reference and the only reference is your parents, that's not going to work out well for you. So those are my last parting words. And just to also add that if there is interest, because we are looking at having regional chapters this year, which will be hosted at universities. So if you have an interest of being part of the YGES executive, but at a regional level, do contact us. Noni will give you our contact details, be it social media or our website, and you'd be able to lead that organization, obviously under the leadership of the global team, but you'll get the skills to be able to be the leader that all these guest speakers are today. They didn't just become leaders, they developed leadership skills at a young age. Fearful if they were, but they did it afraid. And this is where they are today, and imparting you guys with all the knowledge and the wisdom. Thank you so much to you, Kanisa. Thank you, Nora. Thank you to my Mandela Washington fellow alumni now. Thank you so much, guys. It's been exciting. It's been inspiring. It's been a splendid evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. So this marks the end of our webinar. And as Nwanda had mentioned, you can find us on LinkedIn, and it is YGES, Young Young Global Economists Society. Yeah, you'll find us there, and follow. You'll get most of our updates, and also like the opportunities that are there with YGES. Everything will be posted on our LinkedIn page. So thank you very much for attending, and we hope you found it very insightful. I know I did. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.